I just farted.
What's happening, everybody? Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Nerd Archive podcast. We've got this week's episode. We are delving into the world of video gaming. We got the full crew here this week, starting with Lewis.
What's
And
up?
we've
What's
got
going on?
Lola and Yad.
Hello.
What's up?
And last but not least, Justin. Oh, wait, that's me. Hi. All right. So yes, this week we are delving into video gaming. And so we're basically just going to be chatting it up about different topics in that world. We're going to go ahead and get started with a little bit of that. So the first segment we are going into is early gaming memories. So that would be like first games that you've played, or the earliest game that you played that really spoke to you and really pulled you into that world where you were just playing it nonstop. And then if anything else comes up in that respect, then we will talk about that as well. So we are going to go ahead and open this up with Lewis. Go.
All right. Well, starting off, my first video game was Donkey Kong on Game Boy. I Yeah, I know, and I played it on the original Game Boy, and then after that, I moved on to the Game Boy Pocket because the Game Boy wasn't mine, so it was the actual first handheld or any console that I ever owned was the Game Boy Pocket. And I think a week later, I got the Super Nintendo. So yeah, Donkey Kong. I played that
Nice.
way too much.
Fun fact about that Donkey Kong. I still have it. It's in my car.
Wow.
All right, well, that is
Yes.
about to come to my possession in very soon
Good luck.
because your keys are out here, so I'm gonna get those.
Listen, I will fight you.
Well, that's been the Nerd Archive podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you next time. Oh man. Okay, so yeah, going into more detail on that. So that was your first game. What would you say would be that game that really hooked you into the gaming culture at large? We're still on Lewis.
All right, so the first game that got me into gaming culture, I want to say Super Mario Brothers 2
Interesting.
on Super Nintendo. That whole game got me hooked on gaming, and the best part to me, or the most annoying, but the best part looking back now, it was blowing on the cartridges when it wasn't working.
Oh yeah.
Yep. And even though, fun fact, on the back of the cartridge says, "Do not blow onto cartridge."
Still works.
Don't tell me what to do.
Yep. Nope. It worked. You telling me because you didn't want me to buy it. You wanted me to buy another one because you wanted me to think it was broken.
Oh yeah, no, but that's also my penchant for not liking to do what I'm told or just being a smartass. Somebody tells me not to touch something, and I'm immediately just to get a reaction out of them. It's like, oh, don't touch this. Okay, touch.
Sounds good. Do not touch the red button. Okay.
Touch the button.
Click.
Nice.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, fun fact: Super Mario Brothers 2, or what we know as Super Mario Brothers 2, wasn't actually what Super Mario Brothers 2 was intended to be. The original Super Mario Brothers 2 actually got released as Super Mario Brothers: The Lost Levels on that big multi-pack for the Super Nintendo. It was actually Super Mario Brothers 2 was originally supposed to be a direct sequel for Super Mario Brothers 1. Looked exactly the same. Levels were harder and that. And so I guess they decided to change that because the audience, I guess, probably wouldn't have received it too well. They, at least, especially the American audience. And so they wanted to do it up like a little bit different. And so Super Mario Brothers 2 as we know it is actually a different game. I don't recall the name of the game offhand, but it's something that wouldn't be difficult to look up. And
Right.
so, yes, with that little tidbit out of the way, let's go with Lola. What was your first game?
Hi. um. So I don't know much about video
That's
games.
okay.
I've stated that before.
I think you're in the
However,
wrong podcast.
well, we're learning, so take it. I don't know if it's the same Super Mario, but it was for Nintendo 64, and it was the one where you
Super
go into the
Mario 64.
paintings.
Mario 64.
Amazing game.
Classic.
That's the one. Yes, I was also super afraid of it. I don't ask me
Whoa,
why.
whoa, 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 whoa.
I think that's what caused the fear. And I do have very vivid memories of asking you to come play like next to me so I could actually play or at least watch.
And we all know I
so I
took
wouldn't
over.
be afraid. And you took over. Yes, but I enjoyed watching video games, and to this day I still do it. So there's that.
You were my first
but-
viewer,
Started from the bottom.
and we're still here.
And we're still here. But to second that, it was a Donkey Kong game
Nice.
as well. That's why I still have it.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so, based on what you were saying, you have a limited experience with video games by comparison. What would you, but just, in spite of that, what would you say was the one game that really drew you into the culture at large?
Assassin's
Good one.
Creed. Yeah, all the Assassin's
Nice.
Creed. I have them all. I've played
It's
them all.
probably my fault
Except
too.
for Black Flag. Not a fan. Yeah, it is.
They're decent games. I haven't played a lot of them myself. I think I've played,
Yeah.
maybe the first half hour of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, and that's practically it. No, I did play a little bit of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, but yeah, I didn't really get
Ooh.
too
Good one.
far into it
It's a real good one,
before
yeah.
I had moved on to something else. I really got to go back and play those. Oh yeah, no. Any
Highly
any
recommend
more
them.
details that you want to go in on in that respect for our
Assassin's Creed? Sure. I can go. I can tell you all about it.
Limit your
Well,
time.
it's basically just in the vein of
Okay.
first games and early gaming memories and
Basically that's it. I love history and I love aliens, and that kind of has the games have both aspects of that in the game to some extent. So yeah, so once I started playing one, apparently they're also mostly historically accurate. So once I got into
I
one, I
gotcha.
just
So
kept
the
playing all
history
of
is
them.
the history aspect, and then the whole
Yeah.
overarching story and the links between
Yeah.
the main characters and the characters, I guess, playing through those characters, because to me it looks like they're playing like it's like this big virtual reality thing where they're diving back in time and playing and seeing through these people's eyes.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of what it is. But you also get to see all these historical figures, and my favorite thing is climbing historical buildings because you can't do it in real life, and I can't climb for shit. So, in a lot of them, I've like climbed Big Ben or climbed a church in Notre Dame. So it works
I
out
love
in my
those
favor.
games where you get to do a lot of climbing and free roam and stuff like that, because and everybody does it. You climb to the top of the tallest building, and then you jump off.
Well, here's the fun fact, or not so much of a fun fact. If you throw yourself off those buildings, usually there is a stack of hay where you land safely somehow, and then you get to hide.
Yeah.
So it's double the satisfaction.
Hell yes. Parkour.
Parkour.
Nice. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to Mr. Yad. What you got for us?
So I've been thinking like which was the first one because I don't remember specifically, but there's four games that I remember the most. Um, so Metroid and the Game Boy. When you mentioned the Game Boy, I remember that vividly playing that all Game
Yes.
Boy, gaining some Metroid. I don't remember if it was. I think it's the second one.
Yep.
Um, and then let's see. I did get that Game Boy or that Metroid game in the Super Nintendo. I remember when I started playing the Super Nintendo, I played the Batman game
Oh
and
yeah.
Super Mario, obviously. Um, but the one I remember the most playing, besides the Batman game, it was Killer Instinct.
Ooh.
Killer Instinct was
Oof.
that was my first days of raging with my controller and almost breaking them. So
Up.
yeah,
Fun,
yeah.
fun fact: they try to remake Killer Instinct for Xbox. I think it was for all consoles, and
Yeah.
Well,
it
it,
tanked.
it,
It tanked miserably. They try to recreate the whole Mortal Kombat
it seemed
again,
like it
and
was it seemed
it
like
didn't
it
work.
fell flat, and I think it was just, to me, it was just an opportunity for them to cash in on the title. And you're locking some of those, it looked like they were locking some of those familiar characters behind DLC, and I'm just like, what are you guys doing? And
Yeah.
yeah, no, I like
Right?
my memories of Killer Instinct were like the arcade version. I loved playing that in arcade. I sucked at it, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a great game, and you could tell that they tried to revive something when it was available for free.
Yeah.
Like that's how they launched it. It was a free video game, and it
No, yeah,
just
it
it
completely
was
fell
garbage.
flat. And then of course, but fortunately, it was only for the Xbox. So, you know, w- we as PlayStation players at the time didn't really have to worry about dealing with that hot pile of garbage. All right. Um,
Well, trust me, I played it once, and I'm like,
I
yeah,
never got to
nah,
play
not
it.
me.
I never got to play that the newest one. Newest
well,
one, you know.
fortunately, you are not missing much, because I had the same opinion. I had the same opinion when Marvel versus Capcom 3 first came out. Because I went from Marvel versus Capcom 2, which is still arguably the best fighting game that's out there right now, as old as it is, to 3, which nice. Um, to 3, which was just like what even is this? Because I bought it, tried it, and then traded it
Right.
like not even a couple days later. Um, all right, so getting back onto the first topic, Yad, what would you say was that game that really hooked you early on into the gaming culture?
Um Actually, I played a lot of the WWE games
Hmm.
and I bought like this is way after you have to say like Mario 64 was one of the best games at the
Yep.
time. But after that when I moved on to
Yeah.
a PlayStation 2, I believe. That's when I started playing WWE games, and I kept it going for years. I think I bought like every single
Oh
game
yeah.
from like 2003 till about 2009. So I kept on it for a while, and I played that so much
Oh yeah.
before moving on to the newer games, first shooter games, and all that stuff.
I got you. Yeah. No, I myself was a fairly big wrestling fan for a while, and a lot of those. Well, no, I wouldn't say a lot of them. A few of the PlayStation 2 wrestling games I definitely enjoyed playing. Mainly, it was the SmackDown versus Raw.
Yeah.
Before the title changed over, because I think it was the original SmackDown versus Raw, and then
Yeah.
SmackDown versus Raw 2006. And then I tried to play a few of the others, but they just didn't really have that same appeal. And then I think I got one or two others when it when they changed it to just WWE. I think it was WWE 13 or something like that. Before before 2K
Yeah.
finally took it over. And then after that, I just kind of lost interest.
I think they fucked up the whole wrestling video game genre.
Yeah, no.
2K.
Whoever I was, and that's the thing. Like whoever had it after that didn't really do. I mean, in my opinion, didn't really do that much for the game. You know, at least enough to get me interested again. You know, and I was still a wrestling fan at that point. I mean, I'm not anymore. It just, yeah, that's a whole nother story for probably a whole nother episode. But you know, it is what it is.
Right.
I
All
remember
right,
No
so
Mercy. No Mercy was the first one that I played. Yeah.
On
And
64.
WCW Nitro.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah, that's
On Super
yeah.
Nintendo.
I think the first wrestling game I ever
Yeah.
played was WCW versus NWO Revenge for the N64. And that was my introduction to wrestling games. And you know, it looking back at it now really wasn't that good, but it was just mind blowing to me at the time. And then there was like one other wrestling game on the N64. I don't recall the specific game name itself, but it was a WWE game. Yeah, I'm sure that'll come to me after it's all done.
I think my first wrestling video game was there was one on Game Boy, and I'm trying to remember
Interesting.
which one it was.
It was with Hulk Hogan, right? Hulk Hogan was in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
All
I
right.
remember that name.
I
Now-
think so. I take it back. I think what got me into the whole video game. Can I change my answer? Actually,
Start
I mean,
remembering
we're
things
still.
now when we talk about it.
I mean, that's all. Yeah, no, it's all good. We're only 18 and a half minutes in. I mean, we can honestly, no, seriously, we can make these segments as long as we want. You know, if we're
it's just really quick. Pokemon Yellow.
dude, yeah. No, those games were amazing.
Yeah,
They still have it.
yeah.
I should have brought it over.
Is it in your car? Because let's go get it.
It's not.
No!
I didn't like the Pokemon games. I'm sorry. I didn't play any Pokemon games. All I remember is you and Jose Omar being like super into it, but I never got to explain anything, so I didn't know any of the lore.
Okay, so just so everyone know, this is
Oh,
Lola's last episode. You see, she's taking her headphones off.
Sorry.
Uh-oh.
I moved my hand and disconnected it.
Well,
Repeat.
I said this is the last episode you're gonna be on. It was great.
You know what, sir? Sir. What about that whole bonding we just had about me watching you play video games and still supporting you? That's what I
Good
thought.
night. And that was it for
Open
tonight's
foot,
episode.
insert mouth.
And
Oh wait, did I get that backwards?
yeah,
Yeah,
a little bit.
It's all good. All right. So for me, the first game I ever played, and it's funny because some people ask me that, and I'll tell them, "Oh yeah, no, the first game I ever played was Super Mario Brothers 3." You know, back when I was, you know, this many years old, blah blah blah. But actually, it's not strictly speaking true. The first game I ever actually played was the original Metroid on the original NES, and you know, it's a decent game, and obviously I love the Metroid franchise. But I think because I couldn't necessarily appreciate the type of game that you know that was at the time, being as young as I was. Um, you know, it didn't really hook me into gaming that much. But that was, I would say, the first game that I did play, and I enjoyed it. And it was one of the more like difficult ones that I've played. But I think
Right.
like the first like the first big game that really hooked me into gaming as a whole that I just played constantly and really enjoyed was Super Mario Brothers 3. Um, and that game, like like super early gaming memories that I like, that game was so much fun, playing with the family, playing with my
Mm-hmm.
brother, and that it's a game that I go back to um like time and time again, like even to this day. And then, obviously, and there's also like Super Mario World for the Super NES, which was another big step up that I really enjoy playing. And I'm actually glad that they re-released a lot of these on like the Switch and that with like the online multiplayer now included, because that is an opportunity, I think, for a lot of us to kind of, get in there and stream and, just opportunities uh for more content as well. And especially with Lola, um with you saying like you're like newer to gaming, so that gives us an opportunity to introduce you to uh a lot of the stuff that you may not have played before.
Right.
Yeah.
I had to bring some things, you know. Um, I just texted my wife to bring me my original Game Boy. I mean, not original, but
Nice.
my Game Boy Color. She also
Hell
had
yeah.
she also had her Game Boy, and we were playing the same game for,
Yes,
for
dude. Yes.
Cool as
with
hell.
with the share with the
yeah.
cable
Nice.
link,
Yeah.
That was Oh yes. That was a
and you can
that was another
trade and
one that
all
I
that.
had that was another one that I had that, that I just couldn't put down. Um and I actually started with the red version and then moved on to the yellow version. And oh, there you go. There you go. It's weird. That one seemed to be the more popular version of the two before yellow came out. Like a lot of the people that I knew growing up had
Yeah.
like the blue version, and I was one of the few with the red. And I had the original fat Game Boy at the time, so
Well,
it's like I couldn't trade with anybody.
I wanted the red one
Yes.
because
Yes, yes, yes.
Then we
There you
moved on
go.
to this.
I don't
If
know
you can
why
see
he
it,
was on the
I
other
don't know if
side.
you can see that.
Yes, man. If
Oh,
The gold version.
oh
if we were
yes.
gonna get into that, I think that after yellow, gold
Yep.
and silver were the
Yeah.
best
No
ones.
doubt. Well, I mean, honestly, I would say gold and silver were actually better than the first ones because they built on like even further on the established brand. And then there was a lot there was a lot more to it. It basically, from what I saw, doubled the content of the game because you went through both regions. And yeah,
Right.
no, you held up that gold cartridge, and I started with that one as well, that very same one. And then I also got Crystal, which was a good one.
Yeah.
Um, and then but getting the re-releases, Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I actually went with Soul Silver, which I'm not sure why I chose that one instead of Heart Gold, but the getting those remakes for those older games, like it was a no-brainer for me.
I think Nintendo needs to get they need to get their shit together and re-release gold and silver on
Yes.
Switch
You know, I mean that might be a good idea.
because you guys won't see me for a while.
Thinking about those days of Game Boy now, I remember having the Game Boy Pocket, and this one. So I traded Pokemon with myself basically. And there was some tricks that you can multiply the Pokemons and multiply the rare candy
Yeah,
and
The
evolve
missing no
things.
glitch.
you you had them hold the object. You stood in front of the computer. You saved it right in front of the computer. You logged into the computer, put the Pokemon empty box. Once you put it in an empty box, you save it, and when it asks you if you want to override, you hit yes and turn it off, turn it back on, and it was there.
Yeah.
Why do I remember this? Because I did it way
And
too many
I
times.
used the blue version of Pokemon so I could find that virus thing that you go in the water and you go up and down the little corner in the
The missing
water
no
area.
glitch going up and
Yeah,
down Cinnabar Island.
but I don't remember what it did. What did we do
Um,
when we get to it? I don't remember.
you caught it, and then it was awesome to have a glitch as a Pokemon.
Yeah, and then
Unless
I don't think I ever caught it.
unless you tried to level it up, because then it would turn into, for me it turned into a Kangaskhan.
Uh,
Yeah, I fed it a
Yeah.
rare candy to see what it would do, and it evolved into a Kangaskhan.
I don't think I ever caught it.
Yeah, well, mine decided to turn into a
Okay.
Metapod.
Yeah.
I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? Metapod is as useless as the letter G in lasagna.
Arden.
Yeah.
Arden. Arden.
Or Magikarp. Magikarp. Splash,
Yeah,
splash,
pretty much.
splash, splash, splash.
Well, although
Also-
they did in later games give him something to be able to defend himself, but it was still next to useless on him. They gave him tackle, but it was still like, what's the point?
What? Yeah, like tackle or defense curl. Okay. It's the same
Right.
as
But
hard.
see, you suffered through that because you had like, because you knew at like level 20, I think it was like 20 something, it would evolve from one of the most useless to one of the most overpowered in the game. Yep.
Gyarados. Oh, I loved the first shiny Pokemon, Red
Yeah.
Gyarados.
Oh yeah. Um Gen 2, I think, is when the shiny started, right?
Yes.
And I think right.
Mm-hmm.
No,
And it was
no,
the only one.
it wasn't the only one. It's just you could get the red Gyarados, but you could also get there were shinies of every Pokemon in the game, but it was extremely rare. Like the
Rare,
odds I
yeah.
think were like 1 in, what was it? Like 1 in 4,000 or 1 in 8,000. Because I caught a couple shinies during my playthroughs of Gold and Silver. This was way before Twitch was ever a thing. But it like so exceedingly rare that I mean, yeah, a lot of people thought that it might not have been a thing, and because that was based on the red Gyarados in the anime. I think that was a thing before
Right.
it was put into Gold and Silver. Unless it was something that was planned for the games, and then they just decided, okay, let's put it in an episode here, and
And never
yeah,
talk
pretty
about
much.
it again. Because I remember that episode. I also remember the lost episode of Mr. Mime. They took it off the air because it was causing kids
Oh
have
yeah,
seizures because of the colors.
I don't. Yeah, it was just like they. That was a thing with young Japanese kids that were like sensitive to certain light patterns and stuff like that. So they were, causing kids to have seizures. And then I don't think that ever aired in the U.S.
No, but YouTube has it.
Yeah, I don't remember any of this. Probably knew about it, but there's a lot of things that I blocked. Not blocked, but just forgotten.
I blocked it. It
Too
was a
traumatic.
terrible time.
I don't even want to think about it anymore.
The first time I saw Red Gyarados, no, I thought it was blood.
I do have another of the best games here. Not Pokemon related, but probably Justin will appreciate this. We got
Maybe.
some Metroid. Let's see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Metroid 2. Love that damn game.
This is the best game ever.
That was a great game.
I got a few here. Like I don't know
mean,
why I drew on this though, but I got a Mario game. This one
Ooh.
is Super Mario Land.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is that
and the
that
second
looks like the
one.
first one? Oh, you got the second
I got
one
the
too.
second one too. Yeah. Street
I like the
Fighter.
first one. I like the first one. Wasn't too bad. I loved the second one.
Street Fighter. How could I
What?
forget? I
Seriously?
forgot how these things. Yeah.
That's
For Game Boy.
crazy. I did not realize.
I have an
Now,
idea
for
for
those
you.
who are listening to the audio only version, Yad is actually holding up some classic Game Boy games, some amazing classics. Others, not as good, but still good games. Now, and that's the thing. I could stand to disagree with you on Metroid 2 being the best game ever, but like I said, it is still an amazing game. Um, you know, that obviously we're going to be talking about like what we see as like our favorite games and stuff like that in a later segment, but um yeah, no, it's like I can't argue with you that it is a
It's a
very,
great
very
game.
good
Yeah.
game.
Not the best, but great.
No, yeah, I played that game. That was another game that I played a lot of, and and even as a kid I loved those like really challenging games that didn't hold your hand, and it's like, here you are, here's the game, here's what you're doing, uh figure it out. And that's essentially what we did.
Yeah.
Right.
And
I feel like these games now are way too easy. If it's not an FPS game that you're playing online, I feel like they're not as challenging. I think that's why one of the reasons people stick to the FPS games, a big majority, not everybody, but it's because the games are not as challenging
well, no,
as they
yeah,
used to be.
they're pretty straightforward, so all you got to do is just run through the map, kill the other players, and try not to get killed yourself. Like, and then some of the more story driven games nowadays, they're like they're way too, for me, handholdy. And what's stupid is
Yeah,
it's stupid is those are the games that do well, a lot better than the ones that actually don't hold your hand and actually force you to use your head meat. You know, it's
Yeah.
like,
Some
eh,
people don't want to
look,
right.
think and they don't want to, do puzzles.
Head me.
oh, yeah,
Yeah,
no,
I know.
the
That's a
TikTok
first.
generation, folks. Sit them down in front of a Super Nintendo.
Shade.
Sit them down in front of a Super Nintendo, give them Super Metroid, and they'd be lost. And then you get more of those memes from the Wii U. Why can't Metroid crawl? Remember that? That fucking thing.
Yeah. Listen, I think the hardest part for this generation would be try to make it to work. They're not gonna know how to blow on a cartridge. They're not gonna
Yeah.
think about that. Who taught us that?
I think
Second
my
nature.
Because it's not like we could go online and search, oh, blow on the cartridge. Oh, fantastic! It was something that
It was universal.
yeah.
Because
Oh
we're a
yeah.
mind
Well, no,
hive or something like that.
And
I learned that from my parents. So, because I mean, I've been gaming since I could hold a controller, but like for like a couple of years before that, I was just like watching them play different games and stuff like that between the original Nintendo and the Atari 2600 and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, that was something that I picked up from them. And then it was less of a problem on like from the Super Nintendo going forward because I'd never had to do that with any of the Super Nintendo games.
I might have to go back to the Harry Potter episode. I think that I might have learned it from
Hmm.
my uncle. He is the nerdy one. I think I can't think. I don't remember him teaching me that, but I'm 100%.
It makes
I'm
sense.
100%. I'm 100% sure that that's how it works, even though
Oh
I
yeah.
don't remember.
But
Well, I
yeah, no,
remember. Sorry, I
oh, go ahead.
remember a classic game that we haven't talked about. Um, Duck hunting.
Oh, yeah.
I was gonna bring it up. I was gonna bring that up because when you guys said what was a game that got you into gaming, it didn't get me into gaming, but I remember playing
I was
that on
mind
an
blown. Like, how
NES.
could I shoot at the TV and then get the little things?
Right.
It's the
To
beginning
this
of Call of
day,
Duty,
like, would it work in one of the newer TVs now?
No.
Right? They
and the new
No, no,
wouldn't.
no, no, no.
TVs.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, no. It's
It has something to do
Yep.
with the
Yeah.
frame.
Yeah, there was a whole YouTube video on it from I think like 5 or 6 years ago that explained a lot of that. I'd have to look it up and put it on the Discord chat, but yeah, it's something to do with like, yeah, modern TVs wouldn't be able to process something like that, and like the old school CRT TVs, the way they were hooked up, um, made that possible. And honestly, I mean, that was like as a kid, that's mind blowing as hell. No,
Yes. Sonic, Sega Genesis.
yes,
I keep thinking of things that I
Yeah.
didn't I never owned it though, but I used to go to a place after school, like my mom's friend kids had it, so
oh
I
yeah,
ended up playing and getting my hands on that, and that's what I played first. The first time I played Street Fighter.
that was actually my earliest foray into Mortal Kombat was on Sega Genesis. Now, I mean, granted, we didn't have the Genesis until like a year before uh, that generation actually ended. Because we basically had Super Nintendo from the beginning, and then later on we got the Genesis, and then that was like right before Saturn and them came out. And we're not going to get too deep into Saturn and the massive fuck up that was, which began their inevitable
Yeah.
downfall. But for a time they gave Nintendo a run for their money. We are going to go ahead and take a break for a few minutes, and when we come back, we are going to get into our next segment. So stay tuned. We will be right back. Thank you again for tuning in to the Nerd Archive podcast. And we are back. Welcome back again to
Yes.
the Nerd Archive podcast. In our next segment, we are going to talk about the difficult/challenging games that we have played over the years, whether you've completed them or whether you have not completed them and just basically rage quit and threw something against the wall, however that all went down. No matter, uh, I guess, how early or how late in your gaming life that was. A lot of my more challenging games, I think, were in uh, my early years. But for this segment, we are going to start with Yad. Go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, there's two games.
Not finish
There's
us
two
off.
games that I actually never got to finish. I got stuck in a freaking loop, basically. Um, One of them was the first Assassin's Creed game. Um,
Oh,
I basically was doing a mission and I stopped playing for like a few months, and then I forgot what I was doing in the mission. In the mission,
uh-oh.
so I had no idea what I had to do next. Um, and then before that, it was Prince of Persia, the third game of Prince of Persia. Um, I got stuck with one of the bad guys, and I could not get it killed, and kept dying and dying and dying for like, I don't know, 4 months, 5 months playing the same thing, and I just gave up.
Ah, damn.
Very, very similar
Yes,
games.
yeah,
Hmm.
I love
Yeah, no,
playing them though, but yeah, like getting stuck was not fun, and I just moved on to their next generation games.
I gotcha. Yeah, I never played the Prince of Persia games. Um, it looked interesting, but um, again, like not interesting enough, I guess, for me to give them a shot. Um,
It
so
was fun. It was early version of Assassin's Creed, I would say. It's not, it
Hmm,
wasn't like fully like freedom, you know, you couldn't go through every single place like you
right.
would do in Assassin's Creed, but it 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 did a lot of things, like a lot of the parkour things, you know, all that stuff
Yep.
that are a
Right.
favor in Assassin's Creed. I think it's one of those games that not started with it, but actually did it pretty well.
What games really challenged you that you were able to complete? Like the biggest challenge that you were able to overcome?
I think after that one, I didn't find like a hard game. Like we were talking before, it's there's a lot of games nowadays that were not too hard
Hmm,
to play. I actually, when I start playing games nowadays, I put them in the ultimate difficulty just to make it harder on me. Um, Man, oh, you know what
Right.
game was actually hard? It was the first Spider-Man game in the PlayStation. There was a few areas that were actually pretty hard to me because I was younger.
hmm.
Um, Still more advanced than playing other games in the Nintendo 64 and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel like I don't remember something specific in the game, but I just thought it was like one of the hardest game I have played at that time.
I think that now the generation gaps between consoles are is not as
Hmm.
big as it used to be because it we went from the NES to the Super Nintendo to the Nintendo 64, which kind of there was a big gap when it came to
Yep.
mechanics. I I think that it was because obviously in the Super Nintendo everything was flat, so you just went two ways. But with the Nintendo 64, you had such an open world, pretty much. That I think that is the difference between going from one console to the next generation now than it used to be. I think it's easier now than it
Hmm.
used to be.
Oh yeah. No, there's definitely, like you were saying, as like the generations went on, the the leaps between, between technological advances got that much shorter. And so, like, there's not really
Right,
that much room left for them to push it for the next generation of consoles. So, like, it's going to be like
right,
really difficult to tell, like, beyond, um, and obviously we're getting off topic, but honestly, yeah, no, and we can still talk about this, but beyond what 8K gaming, which you know isn't really even a thing yet. Um, like what honestly, what are the next generation of consoles going to be able to do? You'll get so
I think now people focus so much more on graphics
Yeah, but even
that
then though, the leap
isn't about
between and you can look like at graphics cards and their advancements over like the years, like really what sets like honestly what's setting the each generation apart from the one previous, because those jumps are
right.
getting smaller and smaller. Like the 40 series graphics cards, honestly, uh I would assume we're going to see them being like 8K capable, but like the hardware pairing with it, is it going to be able to? We've got 8K TVs and monitors and stuff like that, but they're still not cost effective. Like the average consumer's not going to be able to get something like that. Well, let's go with Lola.
Hi. I forgot what the question was.
Um, so the topic of the second segment is like the most difficult slash challenging games that you've played so far. Whether or not you've completed them.
So far I've completed 98% of the games that I played. Those are
Hmm.
including like all the Lara Croft games and the Jedi Fallen Order game, I think it's called.
Ooh, I gotta play that one.
It's really, really good. I gotta say, boss fights were really hard. Luckily, my partner also likes games. And very much like in my childhood, I just passed on the controller, took that headache off, and then once he passed it, I continued on with the story. So, you know,
Would that count as
well,
finishing
I
your
tried.
games?
I gave it my best. And then after 15 or 20 tries of, trying to beat the boss fight and I couldn't do it, I was like, "You know what? This cost me money. I'm going to pass it on to you." So, yeah. Um Currently though, I rage quit. I think it's called Quantum Break. It's a really good game. I really like the whole genre and theme of it. However, it has to do with time. Essentially, time breaks, and they're trying to prevent
Mm.
it from breaking. And the what I assume to be the boss fight, because I haven't gotten past it yet. They can turn time themselves. So you have this guy that's constantly moving and constantly going places, but at the same time, he's hiding on a top shelf. That sounds weird, but it's kind of like, I don't know what they're called in English. They use them in construction to get to high places.
Scaffolding?
Cranes?
No, they're I think that's what it is, scaffolding. So he's standing on top of one, and at the same time, he's shooting
Hmm.
at you, but also there's people constantly coming in shooting at you. So you're trying to kill all the people on the ground level and the guy on top. So I've rage quit that one for now. Storyline, great, amazing. I wish I could keep playing
Practice,
it.
practice, practice. You'll get it.
Right.
Practice, practice, practice. Like you guys said, when you were younger, you had your rage quits. No longer. This is my younger.
We
Oh
still
no no
do
no
it.
no no no
Yeah.
no no. We still do it.
um, so I'm currently that's the one that I'm currently playing. Also, I gotta say the Lara Croft games were fantastic. I really
Yes,
like
Tomb
those.
Raider.
Yeah.
That was on the PlayStation. It was PlayStation One. Tomb Raider. That was good.
Um, so I played the one for Xbox, and funnily enough, after you get to the end of the game, I think you can change your character to be Triangle Titty Lara.
Interesting.
Yeah,
We always fantasize on that.
yeah. It's that shave. You need that.
That seems to
Tomb
be.
Raider was like my first PC game ever that I remember playing at
Ooh.
my neighbor's house.
Yeah.
They didn't
No,
have
that
one.
was that was one of the earlier PlayStation games that I played. I didn't really play much of it because, you know,
Yeah.
it was it was cool to look at the graphics and all that, for the time, but like clunky as hell controls, and that just kind of threw me off that game. Um, so the most challenging game that you've played, that you've completed, that gave you the most satisfaction of of being able to finish, what would that be?
Um, I guess that Jedi Fallen. No, actually, I take that back. It's the Avengers game. I was having a lot of trouble with that last boss fight. I don't know why, but it took me like 5 days to be able to beat it. And I expected more after that, but there wasn't. That was just it. That was the last boss fight. I know
Hmm.
that. It was really good though. I really like that game.
Nice, nice, nice.
That's a good game.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Anything else that you wanted to add in regards to that topic?
Yeah, one of the reasons why I couldn't beat any bosses on the Fallen Order, it's because I didn't know you could find extra like life packets. So I played the entirety of the game with one. So one like hit and
Oh,
I'd be dead. Yeah, but then again, my partner beat it with just the one, so I don't know, man.
and yeah, no, there's different. Obviously, there's different skill levels. So no, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, that's perfectly fine. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe if you would have played Pokemon.
No, but he did play in Metroid Dead. Was that what you guys were talking about? So he was all
That's right.
into all that stuff
Nice.
growing up as well. Yeah.
Okie doke. So let's pass it on to Lewis this time.
All right. Well, Super Mario Brothers 2 was a challenging one. There was a couple of levels that were not
Can't argue
easy.
that.
Also, I think this generation doesn't know that you had a specific amount
Yep.
of lives to do it. That's the problem. It's not like restart, restart, restart. To be able to go back to that level, you have to restart your whole system.
Yeah. No, the TikTok generation does
So
not have a clue.
although it was fun and
Mm.
it helped a lot in
Oh, yeah.
problem solving. So that and
Maybe that's
Assassin's
what I
Creed 2.
lack.
Maybe we should go
Go
back
back.
to Super Nintendo. But I think that Assassin's Creed 2, the first Ezio game, that was a challenging one. That there was a bunch of stuff. I think it was the lack of understanding in the language because there was a lot of when listen Assassin's Creed 2. I was very young when it first came out. You played it after I had it.
Yeah, but also they speak Italian. That's pretty much Spanish. What happened?
Most of the game is in English.
Oh.
What?
It's the English you couldn't understand. Can you change languages on a game?
Too late now. No, but it was there was a lot of words that I didn't understand, so I I didn't know where to go from it. I was like, okay,
Gotcha.
well, I guess I'm just gonna free roam and find out what do I have to do.
I'm gonna do it
Follow
all.
the arrow, follow the exclamation
There you
point.
go.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going. Yeah, and it's funny how some of these games you are going through missions and you get stuck on a spot forever, and then all you have to do is back out a little bit
Yeah.
and then re-enter that place, and all of a sudden you find a new spot. And I'm like, what? That sounded so wrong. I'm not saying that. Let's be honest. I'm gonna say it again.
Good job.
But yeah, no, I think hey, just regroup, and you were able to figure out what you had to do. But back in the day, there was no Google. You had to, if you were stuck on something, you had to get the magazines,
Either that or figure
Oh,
it out
the
yeah.
yourself, or
books.
you were shit out of luck.
Yeah, no, I didn't
Yeah.
like to be shut out of luck. I did figure out myself. I didn't have a lot of. Actually, I would buy the books after because I
Right.
just like how they looked,
Oh yeah, books for the
and it
games.
was more
Gee.
collectible at that point.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, and it was weird. It was like so detailed, and I just think again, I had the books, but it was pretty much after even I was done with the game.
do they still do that?
And sometimes GameStop, yeah, I don't think so.
Well, yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, some of
I've
them
seen a
do.
couple.
But
Like special
usually,
editions.
yes. Yeah, I was actually about to say that. Usually, when there's like a collector's edition or a limited edition, you'll get like a guide on that. I've seen it more on like Nintendo side when they'll do like limited editions with certain games. You don't really see it that often on any of the games for like other consoles. Uh, like Nintendo is mainly the one that still does it. And because for a while I had like
Right.
the hardcover collector's edition of like a lot of the strat guides for Legend of Zelda games that came out for
Why has no one said Legend of Zelda?
well
It wasn't
those
my favorite.
well those you couldn't really put down as like super difficult. They are challenging to a point, but I mean yeah, for like as a younger kid, but we're looking at like the the most challenging, like that you've ever played, like ones that you've completed or ones that you've just said screw this and rage quit and just never gone back to it. And so
I mean, I have a list
I don't think we have that
of
long.
rage quits. Well, if you want to see the list, make sure you join our Discord.
Yes, actually. You should definitely do that. So, well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you've done some of the challenging games that you've completed. What are your what would you say is one or two of your biggest like rage quits? Like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
I'm going back to Super Mario Bros. 2. I've had my mother had to buy a lot of controllers for me
I didn't know
because
that.
they were very easily to break.
You are not gonna tell me that you've never completed Super Mario Brothers 2.
Oh no, I completed it
I haven't.
well, of course you haven't. No, but after a bunch of other controllers.
No, I'm talking about something that you never went back to and like probably to this day never will. Yeah.
Oh, rage quit completely. Oh man, crap. I'm gonna go with one of the GTA games. There was way too many missions. I'm trying to remember which one, and it got to a point where it was more of a rage quit when thinking, okay, I think I got more percentage out of this. It wouldn't even go up. I'm like, what? I just spent
Oh,
3 hours
jeez.
trying to do this. I think it was GTA
Hmm.
San Andreas, maybe.
Yeah, I never did play that one.
I said, you know what?
Oh, I
Yeah, I was
finished
like,
that.
fuck this shit.
I was holding on all my areas. Everything was green.
Yeah, no, no. I did not get that far, and I said, you know what? Fuck you, fuck everybody. It got to a point where all I did was, okay, I'm gonna take my character to the gym, and I'm just gonna bulk him up.
Oh man. No, no, the
That was
GTA
it.
games I never played the first two. I played a fair bit of GTA 3, never finished it. And I suppose I just kind of lost interest and then went to Vice City and
Right,
finished that one. Didn't complete it 100%, but like finished the main storyline and all that. And then I didn't play San
right.
Andreas. I played some of GTA 4, including the online mode, which basically mainly consisted of me trying terribly, horribly to try and fly the chopper. Uh, yeah, failures left and right. That'd be some good content. um, and then
Yeah.
GTA 5, which basically took the world by storm. One of the best-selling games, pretty much.
Still to this
Yeah,
day.
To
yeah,
this day, still
I
number
crazy.
finished
2.
that one twice in the PS3 and then PS4.
Same.
Yeah, I finished it twice too.
And now I'm contemplating on downloading it in the PS5 because it is free.
You have to do it.
No, I have it on PC as well.
You have to go on next console.
Yeah, no, I have it
I
on.
may try.
Y'all remember the Superman game on Nintendo
I
64?
think I played that
No.
once when it was on
It
demo
was
at uh Toys R Us. There's something that the young kids haven't heard of or probably never will.
that was the original engine that followed
Ah,
Spider-Man because it was very similar. You could fly around just like Superman, and the difference was that Spider-Man you had to be in buildings and you look down and there was no
Oh, I do
ground
remember that.
mm.
if you fell.
You can, yeah, you were flying the whole time. You,
But so
That
that is
seems
one.
weird to me.
yeah, I didn't like it. It was boring, but
Yep.
cool to see.
No, I played it a lot. Yeah, I played it a lot, and there was a couple of missions that you were there was actual ground. I'm like, whoa, groundbreaking.
Getting back to the topic, I think we're on myself now. Some of the more difficult and challenging games that I've played. The earliest one that I can remember is one that I think a lot of veteran gamers can relate to. The Probably one of the biggest pain in the ass games that I have ever played was Battletoads on the original NES. I loved that game.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved that game, but for the life of me, I could not get past that level where you were on the bikes going past the barriers and the jumps and all that stuff. That frustrated me to no end, and I could just never complete that game. I think I only ever got past that uh once by sheer well no yeah I got past it once by sheer dumb luck and like died not long after and then never was able to do it again. And at some point I just set the game down and just I've never picked it back up. um that's actually I think one of the only games that I uh that frustrated me to the point where I didn't even bother trying to go and complete it. um Usually any other game that I don't finish, I just, get bored of or lose interest or something else comes along that I want to play. And then I just forget about it. And then, but some of the more challenging ones that I really enjoyed, um, that I actually did complete, obviously not to 100% because I'm not really one of those guys. I suppose it depends on the game. Um, was uh Super Metroid for the NES. That or the Super NES. Uh, um that was a really big challenge to me, especially back then, and even now. eh, um it's still a fairly challenging game, and it boggles the mind how some of these guys can complete it in like because even like it'll take me hours or like if I don't have a lot of time, days to complete that game. And some of these guys can complete it in like 30 minutes. Granted, they're speed running it and only getting like a few of the items just enough to make sure they don't die when they are basically like skipping through a lot of the game. But yeah, no, and it was
Right.
challenging in the sense that like we were talking about, it was one of those games that didn't hold your hand. You were dropped into the game and you were basically like, here you are, uh, figure it out. And you were given, and what was cool about Metroid and most uh all of the Metroid games from uh Super Metroid on followed this where you started the game with most, if not all of your suit's powers, where you got a taste of what like the end game would be, and then once you finished that first boss, all of that was taken from you, and then you were dropped in a new level, and then you were basically forced to build back up from scratch. So you're and with
Right.
no reference points, uh no points of interest on the map where it was saying, oh, you go here, blah blah blah. You were forced to figure it out. And that was honestly one of the biggest challenges, and also for me I think one of the like the most satisfying to me when I was finally able to complete that game, like beating uh beating Mother Brain at the end after how many dozens of times trying was like the most satisfying, and just like, fuck, finally, like how many times have I done this? It seemed like 100, but it was like 24, 25 tries. And then immediately after, oh, here's a countdown, the planet's going to blow up, you need to get off before it does. And then they give you another little side bit while you're doing that. Oh, do you Do you go into this little room and save the animals, or do you escape and let them die? And oh yeah, and that was another
Let them die.
thing that
Anakin much?
I didn't kill him. I just let him die.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of a difference, but it's still kind of a callback to episode 1 there of the podcast. So there you go. Yeah, no, that fun fact about that actually becomes like a little like a donation / voting topic on when they do like awesome games done quick, when they do like that charity event where they speed run different games. It's crazy to see how like people just completely break games to to finish them in minutes, or in like some games you'd still take hours to finish, but man, it's crazy. But yeah, no, that one for me was like the biggest like satisfying challenge complete. Like, fuck, I finally did this, after how many attempts. And then, going back with like Battletoads was my like, no, screw this. I quit. I'm not doing this again. And I haven't played that game, to be honest, since I was a kid. So I'm like, yeah, I don't think I want to put myself through that again. So there's been some other games that have challenged me a fair bit. Let's see, what's a recent one that was kind of I would say sort of a challenge for me at first was what the hell was that game? Death Stranding. That was a fun one, and that was a fair bit of a challenge. You had enemies that you couldn't really see up to a point, and then it's a difficult one to describe. Like if you haven't, like if you know, like if you've played it, you pretty much know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you should. It's definitely an interesting game. It's a good story driven game, and it's a long game. But yeah, that was another fun one that was decently challenging to me anyway, that I actually played twice. I played it most recently for the second time when they released it on Steam. So yeah, that's my little tidbit for that one. Anybody else got anything else that they want to talk about for this second segment?
I just remember a game that I rage quit and I never went back to. The Lion King game from Super Nintendo.
Oh my god, here we go again.
Which is funny because it had nothing to do with the death of Mufasa. You know I can't talk about this. I think that's one of those games that I'm nope, not going back. My wife bought the 2-pack of Aladdin and Lion King for the Switch, and I have not played it. I'm not gonna put myself through that. Not gonna happen. I can't. But I can't. I also can't watch Mufasa die. You were waiting for that.
That's not the one I wanted to play anyways, but whatever.
Still works, I suppose.
Gotta open the tears. Let them drop.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to part 1 of this extended episode of the Nerd Archive podcast. Be sure to tune in for episode 2 coming this Sunday to Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, and Audible. Also, if you haven't already, do join us. Follow the Nerd Archive Productions on all of our social platforms, as well as our amazing Discord community. We are looking forward to seeing you there and being able to interact with every single one of you. So, until then, that is all for now. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.